Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing some of my styling tips that I use to get dressed every single day. These are kind of like the secret sauce when it comes to getting dressed, and they're what help me refine my outfits and make me feel really pulled together. So I'm going to dive right into it, and starting with my first tip, which is to start with a focal piece. So essentially every single morning I will pick out one item in my closet that I want to base my outfit around, and I will go from there. I find that this makes getting dressed a lot easier. It could be a piece that I'm so excited to wear. Maybe it's a new pair of trousers or a new sweater, or it could be something that I just absolutely love and I'm itching to wear that day because the climate suits perfectly. So I will go from there. And I also consider things like complementary colors and complementary silhouettes, and I will kind of talk about that in a couple of my other tips. And the next thing I like to do is to tuck it in. My waist is my smallest part, so I like to accentuate that. And again, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, but I find that tucking things in can make them look a little bit more smart, a little bit more polished and more put together. And that's kind of what I like to do with my outfits, considering that I do tend to dress a little bit more casually. I find a French tuck can look really nice as well. That's when you just tuck it partially in the front and you leave the back loose. But when I'm doing a French tuck, I usually like to have a jacket or something like that so that it covers up the back, as I find from the side you can kind of get a little bit of an unflattering silhouette. So generally I will tuck the whole way around though, and I like to belt it too, because again, that helps to kind of highlight the fact that my waist is my smallest part of my body. Now, kind of on the topic of sort of highlighting the smallest part of my body, I really like to balance out my proportions. So this means if I'm wearing something really oversized on top, then I like to pair it with something a little bit more fitted on the bottom. Obviously, there are always general exceptions to this rule, and you can have a loose fit that will work really well. And I do have an example of this that I find works best for me. But generally, that's kind of how I tend to approach a lot of my outfits. And it's, I think, part of the reason why I love wearing skinny jeans so much, because they work really well with a lot of my tops, which are all very floaty. Now, again, when I'm thinking about balancing out proportions, I'm also thinking about balancing out the proportions of my body. So I have mentioned this so many times in my videos before, but I have a very short inseam for my height. So I'm 172 centimeters, but my inseam to my ankle is 28 inches, which is quite short actually, given my height. So I carry a lot more of my height in my torso. And this means that in order to balance out my silhouette, I can't really wear low-waisted things, because then that just makes my torso look super long and my legs look very short. So I tend to wear things that have more of a mid or a high rise, because then that just elongates my legs from a visual perspective, and it just balances out that, I guess, that anomaly between the length of my torso and of my legs. I do find also, because I am very narrow shouldered, that I can't wear something really tight on top with, say, a bell skirt. I find that highlights the fact that I am more of a pear shape, and it's not really something that I want to accentuate. So if I am wearing a bell-shaped skirt, I do have a Lily skirt from Karen Walker, which is that sort of shape. I tend to wear it with something loose on top, and this is an instance where I do find wearing two loose items together does really work. So it's all about mixing and matching. There are generally exceptions, but this is just something that I use as a general rule. I find balancing out those proportions works a treat. The next one is kind of finding the balance of where masculine meets feminine. Now, I think a lot of my outfits tend to skew one way or the other. I tend to go for quite a bit of suiting or tailoring, those sorts of items which I think lean a little bit more masculine, but then I also love really feminine pieces. Like, I've got some beautiful midi skirts that I adore wearing when it comes to the summertime. So I will try to balance those out so that I've got kind of a really nice blend of the two. So if I'm wearing more tailored sort of pieces, or things that generally tend to skew a little bit more masculine, I will try and mix things up, like maybe putting on a pointed toe flat that looks a little bit more feminine. I think it just really helps to ground the outfit. Same goes for that sort of midi skirt look, maybe pairing it with an oversized sweater, something that maybe might feel a little bit more masculine or a bit more, I guess, unstructured, and then kind of keeping the rest of it really ladylike. So yeah, I find that works really well for me, as it also reflects my personal style really well. The next styling tip I use is to roll up my sleeves, whether I'm wearing a shirt or if I'm wearing knitwear. I just find that it's a little bit more flattering on me if I'm showing a little bit more of my forearm. I find that it helps to balance out an outfit, and it can also make a more slouchy piece feel a little bit more refined, particularly when I'm rolling up the sleeves of shirts. I feel like it just adds a little bit more visual interest to the look, and it can also help to make it feel a little bit less formal, which is something I tend to go for on a daily basis. But yeah, if I've got a really nice skinny knit sweater, I love pushing up the sleeves. I just think it can look really flattering, especially if you've got some bracelets or your watch on your wrist, because it sort of highlights and draws attention to those. The next styling trick that I use is to mix up my textures. Now, I tend to wear a lot of monochromatic outfits, and those can fall really flat or look really boring really quickly if you're wearing the same texture all over. So I find mixing things like cotton, silks, wool, all those sorts of things together, they can create a more visually interesting outfit that has a lot more depth. Obviously, this isn't just limited to wearing monochromatic outfits. I do this when I'm wearing color as well. I just find that it's a really simple and easy way to make your outfit look more interesting and have more depth. Accessorize, accessorize, accessorize. I truly cannot express how much an accessory can have a game-changing effect on your outfit. I personally tend to subscribe to more of a less is more approach, which is sort of a styling tip all on its own. But I do find that kind of just adding a couple of simple necklaces can completely change the way that your outfit looks, and it can just really balance things out. Even just the handbag that you choose, which is sort of the finishing touch of your outfit, can completely transform the look and can really be a vibrant pop of color, particularly if you're going for a more minimal outfit like I tend to do. And sort of on that less is more approach, I tend to quite like simple styling basics. So I tend to pare everything back and I don't get too overly fussy with what I'm wearing. So I don't throw on tons and tons of layers because that's just my own personal style and that's sort of the way that I like to get dressed. But obviously, if you like more is more, I think you should 100% go for it. So those are the styling tips that I use every single day to get dressed. I hope that you guys found these helpful. I'd love to know what styling tips you use to get dressed or what rules that you have when you're pulling together an outfit. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time with a brand new one. See you soon. Bye.